Well, we are, I wouldn't say we're on the phone here, but we're on the Skype with Mr. Joe Davis, if I'm getting that correctly. It's been a while, man. How you doing? How's the family going? What's going on?
Yeah, it's good to talk to you guys. Everything's good, I guess. Whenever I ask people how they're doing right now, I say I hope you're staying healthy, obviously, but hope you're staying sane too. And
Yeah.
stuff like this, and for those of us with kids, it's a little bit of a different animal right now. But trying to look at the silver lining to the whole thing, which is bonus family time that I know that I'm not going to have to this degree probably ever again.
Yeah, I was going to say, you being home with the wife and kids in April has got to be definitely perfectly said. Silver lining there for sure. If we're talking about more silver linings, but also odd timing or whatever, the new Spectrum deal, like perfect timing, sort of. People definitely need it. Big time news drop this week for people who don't know. DirecTV is now going to be carrying Spectrum Sports in LA. So first, I feel I need to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to the other half of the fan base that's been missing you for the last few years. And two, thoughts on the deal, the excitement level for you.
Yeah, so excited for it, man. It had gone so long. I don't want to say I'd given up on it happening, but I think I just tried to stop thinking about it because, like, what good was that going to do me to think about that? And didn't really change. I say didn't really. It didn't at all change my job, what I do on a daily basis. So I kind of put it out of my mind. Huge bummer all along that not everybody could watch, but it wasn't going to do me any good to pay too much attention or energy to it. And so when I got the call probably last week that it was getting close, I was like, wow, like really, is this really going to happen? Really going to happen? And then it obviously goes through a couple of days ago. And my first thought goes to the kids in Los Angeles, the next generation of baseball fans, because I think about myself growing up in Michigan, and I think people know I grew up a Cubs fan, but growing up watching games on WGN and how that daily experience of flipping the game on really molded me as a fan. And so for, a generation that was going to miss out on that had the deal not gotten done, I'm just so excited for them more than anything.
100%. Yeah, you're seeing the fan base, you're seeing people on the internet, just the immediate excitement. Now next, check off the boxes, just getting baseball back.
Yeah, and who knows, right? I mean, even we hear from Commissioner Manfred and hear from the Players Association, and we can say whatever we want as far as dates that we think it could happen or hope that it'll happen and plan for it to happen, but none of us know, and that's not a knock on any of us. It's just none of us know how well this virus is going to be controlled, and everything is contingent on when we get it under control.
Yes, 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Joe, you're a professional, obviously, and probably comes more natural to you, I would guess, based on watching you and over the past couple of years. But how are you hanging in there with no games to call? How are you keeping up on your craft day to day?
It's not even as much like I'm sitting there saying, man, I wish I had a game to call, as it is, man, I wish I had a game to watch.
Yeah.
I kind of look at it as a sports fan more than anything. And keeping up on my craft, I'm not really like practicing or doing any dry runs or anything like that. I'm trying to invest a couple hours each day in prepping for the season. I think that it would be easy to kind of be like, all right, like, well, let's just hang out and drink beers now or whatever, and who knows when this is going to be. But I don't want the season to start, say, July 1st or whatever it winds up being, and then I'm like, whoa, shit, I better get going now. I better get into baseball again. I'm trying to keep my mind in that frame of still kind of leaning forward towards the start of the season to stay sharp and stay ready to go.
Yeah. Have you gotten a chance to see Joe Buck's his play-by-play calls of fan submitted stuff?
Yeah, that's been fun to watch. I was in the process this morning to listen to him on the Bill Simmons podcast. I didn't realize that Joe had actually started a podcast of his own. So I'm going to look forward to checking that out.
There you go. It's a good voice for a podcast, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We have some virtual games that we're playing or streaming on MLB The Show if you're ever interested in calling a game, if you get real bored over here.
How doing?
We are what, 3-2, I think, Gary?
No, we're 4-2 right
4-2 Dodgers.
Are you guys actually playing the games yourselves, or you're just simulating them?
We're letting the computer do all its work, and then we put it on the hardest level. We adjust the lineups based on the right-handed pitcher or left-handed pitcher.
Yeah.
So yesterday we killed the Rockies like 15-1. So the lineup went crazy.
Wow. That'd be
So it's
very
been
good.
fun.
That'd be realistic. The Rockies.
Yeah.
And we're following right along with the what would have been the schedule too. So
Yeah.
it's been surprisingly fun, but maybe that's just how desperate we all are right now.
Probably a little bit of both. Yeah.
Of course, we do know you're doing your part right now, introducing the world to more of Joe's Kitchen or Joe's Barbecue on Instagram. One of the things I know Gary and I were talking a little bit more about is what's your favorite cut of meat to kind of grill up and cook and just do a bunch of different things with?
I call the brisket the holy grail of smoking and of barbecue, and I have not mastered it at all. Because of that, that's probably my favorite, because it's like this ideal that you're always chasing, you're always trying to nail, and you just, at least for me, you're never gonna quite perfect it. So there's always something you can change. What I've perfected, so what I probably do the best, we do chicken a lot. So the whole chicken would probably be what I do best. But yeah, that brisket, it hangs over my head, man, like a cloud. And I continue to try and nail it. I'm actually helping a buddy out through a brisket of his own right now that he put on at about 3 a.m. this morning. And it's actually his first one by himself. He did one years ago with a friend, but I don't even count that. He's diving in on it and texting frantically. And he was all excited last night about it. And I said, look, man, like, I'm excited for you too, but just know that, like, Godspeed, okay? Don't set your sights too high on this.
Yeah, you can't put the brisket too high on a pedestal for the first time.
Yeah. You cannot expect greatness. No.
How deep is your recipe book? Like how many?
Not that deep. That's why the videos have stopped the last few days. They gotta post more stuff. Well, look, man, I'm not a real chef. I'm not a real restaurant guy. I know how to cook like 8 to 10 things on there. But then I was thinking, I shouldn't be ashamed about that. When you think of barbecue restaurants, it's not like they have big long menus.
Exactly.
Right.
So you know what? I don't have a whole lot more to offer. Maybe I'll just keep eating stuff and just hope people have forgotten.
Yeah, I think I was about to just put together all your recipes into one little post, and just so if anybody needs to look for Joe Davis barbecue recipes, they'll find it.
You got to figure that people go see Bruce Springsteen. They want to hear the greatest hits, so maybe they want to see yet another Joe Davis brisket.
I guess that could be, and that brisket is something that I've not done one of these videos during the pandemic on. So we still got to do that.
Boom.
Yeah. What's your feeling on sous vide and barbecuing? Because this is just a personal question.
Yeah, no, I've never done it. I have a friend or two who have done it and speak highly of it, but that's not something I've messed around with. Are you into that, Gary?
I think that's the only way I cook with sous vide style. And then I get worried about the smoking factor for barbecues because I don't want to ruin it. But the quality of the meat's really good. So it's just a mixture of techniques. I'm trying to learn from your techniques to incorporate into mine.
I think I need to learn from you. That's a whole nother ball field that I haven't stepped onto.
Yeah, you don't have one. I have extra sous vide, so I can just leave it on your porch, and then you can just go get it, disinfect it, Well,
another one of the parts that I think people absolutely enjoy and adore more than anything is, I don't know, is she a prep cook, a line cook? Charlotte seems to be getting in on the cooking a little bit, or at least some of the prep. How is she coming along with sharing dear old dad's love of food and barbecuing?
Yeah, I half joke with my wife that she's going to be in the food industry, isn't she? Just because we're such amateurs doing this, but we're either prepping a dinner or enjoying our dinner or watching Food Network or watching Chef's Table on Netflix or whatever, watching Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. And I could see her getting into something like that just because it's going to be just through osmosis such a big part of her upbringing.
For sure.
Yeah, she's going to take over Mama's Pizza soon.
Nice.
Joe, getting back to baseball a little bit. Obviously, no baseball right now, and that sucks. But we were all pretty excited about these 2020 Dodgers. What are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I think that's part of why it's such a bummer that there's no baseball, because of what you said. Because they did look like a powerhouse. I think that they were as deep as ever. Adding somebody like Mookie Betts, you now have two of the top players in all of baseball between Bellinger and Betts. I think David Price is framed as a throw-in for that deal, but I think David Price was set to have a really good season. He was healthy. He was coming from the American League, and not just the American League, but the American League East into the National League. He never pitched in the NL before. Can expect a boost from that. So I think he was set to have a good season. Kershaw looked amazing during spring training. Jansen looked better. There were just so many things that were leaning in the right direction that I think that's part of the reason why it's such a bummer that there is no baseball right now, because it was trending so positively.
Yeah. Did you get to have any conversations with any of those newer guys before spring training got suspended or anything like that?
Really briefly, enough to say hello and introduce myself to the new guys, but brief enough, and I think the gap is going to be long enough where I'm just going to have to introduce myself all over again.
Fair enough. So Mookie Betts in Los Angeles, just what did you feel and what do you think that means to the team, that looks to finally get over that hurdle this year, hopefully?
I think that anytime with a player from afar, so any player in the American League, I think what we tend to appreciate, and vice versa, American League fans, what they tend to appreciate about our National League players is typically the offense, right? Because we see that's the easiest thing to see in the numbers. And spectacular offensive player, one of the best offensive seasons in Boston Red Sox history 2 years ago. Last year, people looked at it and said, oh, it was a down year. It wasn't a down year. He was top 5 in the American League. It just was down from 2018. But the other things, as you talk to people that watched him every day in Boston, that they rave about are his defense and his base running. So people talk about, the Dave O'Brien, the Boston Red Sox TV guy, said that he thinks he is the best base runner he's ever seen. And he said defensively, he's going to make a play just about every night where you say, wow. And those kinds of things you can't possibly appreciate until you do see them every day. So we can appreciate the batting line and appreciate how good of a hitter he is just from seeing that. But I was excited to watch just the raw excitement and electricity that he brought to the park on a given night.
Yeah, Clint, I think that's something me and you talked about, where it's like, obviously the bat, he brings a lot with it, but I mean, 4 Gold Gloves in Boston, of all places, one of the most difficult parks to play in because the outfield's so wild. I think that's something that's really gets overlooked, and I'm excited to have a couple Gold Glovers in the outfield at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, I just had a question about, you have actually a really good experience with coming into LA and having the fans fall in love with you and you falling in love with the fans. Mookie, what would you have told him about the fans in LA that he should look out for? Because he was relatively new. We only get 1 year to impress him, and then he has to consider re-signing or not. And we know how beloved he was in Boston. So I don't know, any kind of tips that or any kind of hints or whatever to Mookie next time you see him?
First of all, I'm very humbled that you would think that I could give him advice on that. I would never offer advice up on that, but since you asked, I think just be you. And what I've appreciated so much about Dodger fans is that they seem to have accepted who I am genuinely and what I bring to the air. And I'm not Vin and never claimed to be or tried to be, but people have seemed to be okay with that and appreciated that I've not tried to be Vin. So to Mookie, I think you don't try to be anything that you're not. You try to be Mookie Betts, and Mookie Betts is going to be plenty good enough to Dodger fans.
Yeah, for sure. I think kind of going off the same thing that Gary was saying, like you said, you didn't try to be Vin when you took over, and you had some big shoes to fill because, if a guy's around for that long with one team and one franchise, it's like, all right, well, who's the next guy up? And I think all of us, when we were looking at Vin's retirement, we were all like, okay, well, who's next? Who's coming? And then you showed up and we were like, wow, this is great. Like, this is fantastic. So I think that's why Gary's like, yeah, you can definitely speak on that, because the transition from Vin Scully to you is something that we, as fans, honestly expected to be a lot more rough, and
we
was
had
seamless.
Experience with that. We had experience with Chick Hearn.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
And that the next 4 or 5 years after that was very difficult for Southern California fans to deal with. So you coming in and just, I feel like it was instantly making your mark. I thought that, that's where your experience can come in and help out Mookie a little bit. Just because, and you're right, I think being yourself is absolutely true. I think being yourself decreases the pressure off your shoulder of trying to live up to something different. And he just did what he did. We would be winning that World Series.
I think there are two things, guys, in regards to that for me. Number one, the team has won 100 games a year since I got here. If the team had lost 100 games a year, I don't know if it'd be going as well. I mean, just being honest, right? If I was delivering bad news every night, I don't know if as many people would be okay with me. I might have been run out of town already. That's one thing, and the other thing is Oral and my relationship with Oral, and he deserves the credit for taking me under his wing and putting his Dodger legend stamp on me. He wouldn't put it like that, but I will. To say this kid's okay, give him a chance, and then I guess without him trying, just our friendship and our relationship. I think the winning of the games by the team on the field completely out of our control, and then really us becoming best friends, that's out of our control too. You can't just force that to happen. We were paired together. We didn't choose each other. So to get paired together and have it go as well, those are two things out of our control that have broken exactly how we needed them to.
Yeah, I think Lon Rosen had a little bit of that inkling in his eye when he put you two together for the first time, and damn, did it work out. And Los Angeles truly is blessed, and thankfully now more of it can eventually get to hear you guys calling some ball games. That's something we're very excited about. Obviously, we've had you on here for a while. We're going to let you go. You got a full day ahead of you, I'm assuming. Hopefully, you guys did promise a Joe and Oral podcast at some point, so we're looking forward to Joral Dave Shire, what I'm assuming it's going to be called. But really, just any final message to the fans, and all of Dodgers Nation, something you'd like to say.
I miss you guys. I know you guys all miss baseball. I miss you guys. I miss the interaction. I know there still are interactions on Twitter and everything, but I miss having those games to interact about. And I miss being in the stadium and feeling the roar of the crowd. And hopefully it's going to be back sooner rather than later. None of us know, as we kind of talked about, none of us know when it's going to be back. But if it's possible, I think that when it is back, we're going to love it even more, because we're going to have this added appreciation, this reminder of how much we love it, because it's been taken away for extra long now.
1,000% there. Appreciate you again, Joe. Most people already know, but shout out your handles where people can find your fine takes and delicacies.
Is it? You may know better than me. Twitter, is it Joe_Davis? I think that sounds right. Okay.
It is.
And Instagram, Joe Davis PXP. Is it still that?
Yep.
Okay.
You got it, Joe. You're on it.
Sounds right. Okay,
Joe, thanks for hanging out, bud.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one, okay? See you later.
All right, guys. Bye.
Bye, Joe.